Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Now this might be a bit of a weird video setup that you guys are used to, and I'll get into that in just a moment. So I'll try and edit this the best I can. I couldn't really figure out the best way to do this, so I think I'm actually using a streaming software to try and record this, but try and do it in a very basic way. So nothing on the bench today, but we're going to be taking a look at a video that has been uploaded by one of Novrich's channels. Now, people have been bombarding me on Discord saying, have you seen this video? Have you seen this video? Blah, blah, blah. You need to watch it. There's, this, that, and the other about it. To the point where I thought, right, okay, so many people are asking me my opinions on it. I haven't watched it, so we're going to watch it for the first time together. This is a video. I've never done anything like this before. Never done a react. So just get all that out on the table. I'm not here to point fingers at anybody or, cause havoc or criticise people for the sake of criticising people, but because you guys have been asking me to do it, I thought, right, I'll jump on and we'll see what this video is all about. So one of the Novrich channels put out, I think it's their Teching channel, put out a gas magazine maintenance video, and apparently a lot of the information is wrong, or you guys feel it's wrong, so we're going to get into that. So we'll take a look at this video. Again, I'm not targeting anybody, just a disclaimer. This isn't my intention, and I'm just going to react to it because a lot of you are concerned that this could be quite damaging to new players or people that aren't really, sort of clued up on this stuff. And because I do a lot of teching and bench work, you guys wanted to know how I respond to it. So we'll get into this video. We'll just transition to how I'm going to use to capture this stuff because, again, in this whole stream world, I'm very much have no experience with it whatsoever, but we'll get to it and let's take a look and see what's going on. Right, everyone, we're going to be taking a look at this video. This is on the Novrich Teching channel. It's just labelled up as gas magazine maintenance. So first thing, I mean, all I've done is click the link that many of you sent me in Discord, people that were live in the Discord chat last night. You guys were watching it and reacting to it, but I was actually playing Space Marine 2 with a buddy of mine, so it's kind of like not really paying attention. So I clicked the link. It's on the first frame. I haven't watched it. I've got a kind of inclination because people were watching it in the Discord, and the way that they were reacting, a lot of this is probably going to be wrong, but let's take a look. First thing I'll say is the studio that they've got there looks really good. They've got that like sort of IKEA, is it called Scardis or something like that? The paneling that they've got on the wall, very good. Good lighting. The person's well represented. He's got tools and stuff on a bench. You can see the bench. You can see the background. You can see him. So in terms of camera work, this is very, very well put together, which is what you'd expect from such a channel. But let's get into it.
Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to maintain your gas and CO2 magazines. Here we have the magazines for the SSP-18 and for the SSP-1, 2, 5.
That makes sense.
Basically maintaining them is...
That makes sense using products that that they sell. So it's... The thing that I imagine a lot of people have got a problem with this is it's not like this is how to maintain your Novrich magazines. It's a wide, broad video. So if I do pause this a lot, apologies guys. This is just a reaction. The link to the video will be in the description below where you can go watch it without me interrupting it if you want to do that first. But let's get into it.
It's pretty much the same, but in this video I will do it with the SSP-18 magazines. First off, I'm going to start with the CO2 magazine. As you can see here, you have a type of O-ring, which basically is the connection point.
It's not an O-ring because an O-ring is an O-ring. These are like flat seals that you have on the bottom where you have the needle that pierces the CO2 capsule. So first of all, I know what he's going to do with this. He's going to put a load of lubricant on it. Now, this seal, that needle is made of metal. It pierces a capsule which is made of metal. So, the fact that you've got a rubber gasket in between that, the last thing you want to do is start lathering this up with any kind of lubricant at all. You just want to keep it clean because if you put any type of grease or oil, I bet you they don't use grease in this. I bet you they use silicone oil for absolutely everything, which is why you guys wanted me to see it. But any type of lubricant on that seal, because the capsule, the tip of the capsule that pierces here is not this wide, so the rest of it's going to be exposed. So you're getting your mags in and out your pouches, maybe you're on the ground in the underbrush or whatever. It's just going to be like a glue that traps all the dust and debris and stuff is going to stick to it. So I know what he's going to do. Don't do it.
Between the CO2 cartridge and the exhaust valve. So this needs to be maintained as well every now and then. All you need to do for this is just take a little bit of thick silicone oil.
Knew it.
Just take a tiny amount of the thick.
Okay, so silicone oil is probably one of the worst lubricants. I mean, I'm not the person that discovered this. I had been using silicone oil for years until I started using other products. You could go watch Explosive Enterprise's video. Silicone oil as a lubricant in airsoft is not a good lubricant. It's one of the most biggest, broadest misinformation things out there. And yet, I'll be 100%, I'll stand up, and there's been times in the past where I sold silicone oil. That being said, as soon as I did a little bit more research into it, you know, you find out silicone oil, it's not good, man.
Silicone.
And he's applying this to a Q-tip. Have you ever used a Q-tip, earbuds, whatever you want to call them? It's a plastic stick that's got fibre wrapped around it. What do those fibres do? They get stuck. They get released. It's not something that you want to be using to clean airsoft guns. And the fact that you get a ton of them in this cleaning kit is a first red flag.
Oil and put it on a Q-tip. That should be enough. Now I hope you can see that. That's basically all you need to do with it. This is important because the CO2 cartridge has a lot of pressure and you want to make sure that this is properly sealed.
CO2 cartridge has a lot of pressure, so the first thing you want to do is make that surface slippy.
So make sure that this is done.
Good start, yeah.
Next up,
oh no,
we have the thread cap, which every CO2 mag has. The other thing you need to know is sometimes it can get stuck. This is because the magazine is made of aluminum and it basically is a little bit softer. So what you want to do is take out the cap.
The reason one of these gets stuck is if either you've over tightened it or there's debris in the threads. Maybe if the aluminium's a certain type, it will corrode. Especially like having an aluminium and steel two surfaces put together. Oh God, I pray he doesn't do what I think he's going to do. See, that's not stuck. It's
also add
turning absolutely free.
A little bit of thick silicone.
Silicone oil? Really? Why do these companies say put silicone oil on everything?
Oil on a Q-tip.
On a Q-tip again.
And rub it right in
and
there.
Just rub it all over the threads.
This will make sure that...
Now this is wrong. This clearly... And I'm not attacking them. I'm not attacking them at all. But this is not a good thing to do. If you don't want your screw or your thumb, your encapsulating bolt, screw, whatever it is that holds the CO2 capsule in place, all you want to do is you want to make sure these threads are free of any sort of debris or fine metal powder or any type of like swarf or anything that screwing the two threads together will cause. I bet you he pulls this Q-tip off and it's full of dirt. So what I would say is if you want to clean this, clean it. Clean it as you would clean anything else. You could use some isopropyl alcohol and just, a bit of kitchen roll or paper towel just to get all the dirt and stuff out there. Silicone oil is not something that you should be using on threads. Like if you're worried about it getting stuck, you can use products like anti-seize. There's all kinds of greases you can use, like copper grease and stuff like that. Things that are used widely. I mean, I'm not saying go and use copper grease, but there's all types of products that you could use to stop things getting seized. Silicone oil. Oh my God. One thing that's going to do again is it's going to attract all the dirt and dust to get trapped up. And also what this is going to do, using silicone oil on a threaded piece like that, is when you're turning the steel screw against the aluminium housing, any type of swarf or small metal fibres that you're going to get are going to get stuck into that silicone oil, and it's basically going to turn it into an abrasive.
The threads stay maintained as long as possible. You will be able to use it a lot longer.
Make sure the threads stay maintained by using silicone oil.
And that's basically all you need to do with the thread cap. Next,
I've been running, sorry I keep pausing this here, but I've been running CO2 mags in various platforms for 10 plus years. I have never once had to maintain the screw that holds the CO2 capsule in. Never once. I mean, yeah, if I've dropped the mag onto the ground, it's covered in dirt, I'll take the screw out and I'll clean it, just make sure there's no dirt in there, but
so we're going to move on to the BB tracks, which is in here.
I swear to God now. I swear to God, if he puts silicone oil in there, it's a clear indication that these guys don't have a clue what they're doing. I'm sorry, but I'm not going after them, but also I'm not going to not call out BS
Usually,
when I see it.
A lot of dirt and debris can collect in here when
correct.
you use it in the game. So this,
all that dirt and debris is now stuck to your seals and your bottom screw because you've just slathered them in silicone oil.
will make your BB stuck and cause feeding issues. How do you clean that? You take, again, a Q-tip.
Yeah, because you want more of those white fibres sticking in the track and, you know, trapping up your BBs.
Take some rubbing alcohol.
Okay. Rubbing alcohol.
That should be enough.
Now what you could do here is, let's say you've got a load of dirt and debris in that channel. What you could literally do is go buy from any type of shop, B&Q, your hardware stores, whatever, get a load of disposable paintbrushes that are clean, and you'd pull down the track and you'd just dust them out. Or you could use a bit of compressed air if you have that. You know, if you're fortunate to have a compressor, just blow the dust out. He's using isopropyl alcohol, which is, you know, not the worst thing, but again, isopropyl alcohol, let's say your magazines were so dirty that it's completely jammed up, maybe you've dropped it in the mud or something. The best thing you could do to clean that out is strip it down and wash it out with like soap and water, because soap and water will hold all that dirt in suspension and enable you to like sort of flush it out. Greases and stuff, if they're present, isopropyl alcohol can have the tendency to spread them if you don't clean it properly.
Now, pull the follower down and make sure to get in there, like really, really get in there. Go all the way down to the base as far as you can and all the way up.
What you're also not doing here is you're not getting rid of the dirt that's behind the follower and the spring. So if this was an issue, you had dirt, debris, whatever in there, the best thing you could do is just to take the spring and the follower out, and again, use many means to try and get it. You want to get all the debris and dust out using a dry method first. So I would just take a paintbrush and just literally just dust it all out, make sure it's nice and free, blow it out some air if you've got a compressor. You will probably have to have a bit more knowledge taking the magazine apart, but
lips as far as
what this method's going to do, if there's any type of grease or lubricant, because you know he's putting silicone oil everywhere, the isopropyl alcohol in this application is going to spread it because you're not actively removing it from the magazine.
As you can see, there's a lot.
Like, look how tore up that Q-tip is. So you're going to have fibres that are stuck in the channel now.
Here. Later you go again with the dry Q-tip to make sure that all the gunk and debris gets out. Check it again.
As a cleaning item are just, they're awful.
Okay.
They're awful.
In this case, we should repeat it again. I will just show it on one side. And
the better thing to use here would just be like a brand new like microfiber cloth.
Till it's clean, so you get an idea.
Again, rubbing alcohol in this kit, that isn't going to last you very long. You could just go buy it really cheap off Amazon or any other place. I used to buy it in bottles, like litre bottles. I think they were like 10 quid. Last you a while. Like, you can see how he's struggling. He's bending the Q-tip. I swear to God, if you put silicone oil in here.
Especially with the new Q-tips that are a little bit softer here in the handle, you can see they like to bend. That's why you want to hold it as high up as you can. And really push it in there. And you basically repeat this process.
Like, you could see how much he's struggling there. Like, if you'd have done the method that I've just said, you know. I've also had magazines that I've had for like, my FNX magazines I've had for like 7-8 years. I don't think I've ever cleaned the channel out once.
Until the Q-tip is...
But that being said, you know, if you've dropped it in the dirt, you know, in the bushes and stuff, you will have to get the debris out, but it's just not the way.
Completely clean. Oops, don't do that.
Yeah,
so
definitely,
the CO2...
Definitely don't do that. You're teaching beginners how to maintain the mags and he just pings the follower up against the feed lips. That's the one way to break your feed lips out.
mag has basically one outlet valve. This can be maintained and should be maintained with a thin silicone oil. Just put a little bit in here.
Right, why is he putting the silicone oil in from the back of the valve? What's that going to do? It's going to do absolutely nothing. What you would do here is, if it needs that much maintaining, again, I've got guns I've got 7, 8, 10 years on. I've never took the outlet valves out. Granted, I have kept the guns, the magazines clean. But again, this is just going to attract a hell of a lot of dirt and dust to stick to your mags. You'll get dirt and dust from your pockets, from your pouches. You know, you put a fresh, clean mag, you've put oil on the back of the valve. You put it in your pouch. Any dust and debris that's moving about, it's just going to stick straight to it, and it's going to create increased wear. You'd remove the valve, clean the valve. You put the tiniest amount of lubricant around the O-rings, and then you put it back in its place.
Make sure it spreads around
You got to think about contamination as well. Like anywhere the oil can spread, it will, and you don't want any. This is why I'm always a firm advocate of running like either dry gases or propane, because you don't want lubricant to get up through the nozzle onto your hot rubber, which works on friction.
Then push the valve in a couple of times so it actually gets in there.
Yeah, this is like the worst way to do it.
You have one O-ring in here and another one underneath. I can show you this one. You can reach it with the valve key.
You should have just used that in the first place. Right, you should have done this in the first place. You should have removed the valve. Valve tools are very inexpensive. That's quite possibly the worst valve tool I've ever seen. Get the ones that are circular. It's almost like a screwdriver, and it's circular and it has the 2 pins on, because you can then just turn it out like a screwdriver. So he's just put oil on the back of the valve, which has gone nowhere, and then removed the valve.
And here it is. Now, as you can see, there's another O-ring right here. This one needs some thick silicone oil.
Nope. All that silicone oil is going to go straight up into your gun, onto your hot
This
rubber.
is enough. Now, when you're putting back the valve,
this almost strikes me as a way of, let's put out a gas magazine maintenance video and just winging it. Just absolutely winging it. Maybe I'll have to do my video.
make sure to shut it tight, but do not put too much force on it, otherwise it would break. It doesn't break as easy, but it can break, so don't overdo it.
I imagine you having to pressure a lot of force on that tool key.
All right. Now we have the gas route.
But don't do it.
Also put some
Don't do it!
thin silicone oil on here. Make sure that the rubber part here at the top
I thought he was going to spray
has
that
some
down.
silicone oil on it, and put some in the...
He's done it. What you should do is put silicone oil absolutely everywhere, and then, just to top it off, because, you know, screw your hot rubber, let's squirt a load of silicone oil down your gas router I hope more people pick up this video. Where are the people in the Heavy Recall Discords? I'd love to see Explosive Enterprises react to this video. Oh my god.
There as well. Not too much. And then press the button a couple of times.
At this point, he might as well have just took the mag, put it into a bucket of silicone oil, pulled it out, blew off the excess.
So it actually really gets in there.
So he removed the valve, and he could have maintained the valve when it was out, but instead he put the valve back in and then chucked a load of silicone oil down the gas router.
So it actually really gets in there.
It would be like saying to park your car on the drive, first take your car off the drive. Like, I know it's a really bad analogy.
One more thing you should do with your magazines after maintaining them and putting oil in here. Once you start shooting again, the excess oil will get into your bucking and into your inner barrel.
Yeah,
That's
no
something
shit,
you don't want to
Sherlock.
happen. So what you can do is make sure you have an open window, or do it outside, because you don't want the gas to collect in the room.
I know what he's going to tell you to do something now, which I actively on airsoft sites, when I see people do this, say, do not do that. You will damage your seals.
Magazines up.
He's gonna just
and release
dump
the gas.
Yeah, right. So the reason why you shouldn't do this, look at all that liquid gas that's just spurted out. So he's using a gas that's heavily additive has a silicone oil additive put in. He's chucked a load of oil down the valve. All this is going to do is going to throw gas and silicone oil all around your room. Well, you got to think the way these work. So you've got the valve, you've got your hammer and your knocker. When you pull the trigger on a pistol or rifle, whatever, it very, very briefly just taps the valve, which lets out enough gas to circulate the whole system, put your BB down the barrel, whatever. When you dump the gas like that, it's forcing all the gas through at one point, and it's just going to destroy the outlet valve over a period of time. It'll also chill it as well. So if you're ever on an airsoft site or anywhere, never just dump, unless it's a case of you're about to do maintenance and you have to get the gas out the mag. The best thing I've always said to people, what you can do, unless it's in such a state that you can't do this, is put the bag in a gun, and just use it, expel the gas.
Did it 1, 2, 3 times just to make sure that
because one time wasn't enough.
there's
We're just
no
going to
oil
do
in there
it 2
anymore.
or 3 times. This is such bad advice.
And you should be good. Do the same
And all that oil he's just put in the valve has just gone everywhere.
thing with the CO2 magazines, obviously.
Again, gas and CO2 magazines, when you come to the end of the day and you've finished using your gas magazine, do not empty the gas. You want the gas remained in there to keep the seals all nice and pressurized. Always keep your gas mags, topped up. CO2, on the other hand, you want to not dump it again. It's under much higher pressure. You're going to damage your output valves. Is just use them. You can dry fire them in your pistols. That's absolutely fine. It's not going to damage anything. Just to get rid of the CO2, because you don't want to leave CO2 mags pressurized.
From here, we're going to move on to the gas magazine, also from the SSP-18. Move that. Here we have 2 valves. One is the inlet valve, right here, that's at the bottom of the magazine, and one is the outlet valve that we've seen before as well.
He's going to do more of the same.
So for the inlet valve, you use thin silicone oil again.
No.
Just put some in here.
Whatever you put there on the valve is going to go into your magazine. The best way you could do this, if you were adamant you wanted to use silicone oil, is just remove the valve, coat the O-rings, put it back in, and that'd be it. You want as minimal amount of that oil getting into your magazine.
And you have another O-ring in here, a bigger one, which is underneath the valve. If you want to get in there, use the valve key. Make sure that there is no gas in the magazine before you do this. Press the button at the top, make sure that all the gas is gone, and then open the valve.
Well, yeah, that's probably the best bit of advice you give so far. Don't take a valve out when the mag's pressurized.
Speaking of gas, in the gas magazines, you always want to make sure you have a little bit of gas in the mags if you store them,
Holy shit.
so it's shut. Okay, we have now removed the inlet valve. You can see there is a little O-ring in here. As we said before, put some thin silicone oil right on that O-ring. And here we have a bigger one. For this one, like before with the CO2 mag, use thick silicone oil.
Silicone oil for a lubricant.
Some right on
it's
that.
not a good thing. There are so many better alternatives
That's
out there.
enough.
And I'm not just saying that because I do my own brand of lube pens. Like, you wouldn't even have to tell you now, don't buy them off me. But there are so many other, like, stuff with, you know, PTFE based, or, you know, a lot of people like to use the super lube stuff. You want to use something that's got no silicone in it.
Already put it back in. And
Even that, like, Tech T guns have stuff that's very good as well.
tighten it down with the valve key.
But don't use oil. I'd be using little bits of grease here and there. Obviously not on the inside of the inlet, but on the outside O-ring of the inlet, where you can get good access to it, you put a little bit of grease, and what that's not going to do is it's not going to go absolutely everywhere, and then you put it back in.
With the inlet valve, be very careful when you're tightening it down. You want to make sure it's tight, but don't over tighten it. This one can break a little bit easier than the outlet valve. And
I was quite surprised to see that he didn't coat the threads on that with silicone oil.
this is not something you want to have. Okay, that's enough. Now the same thing with the exhaust valve as we did before in the CO2 mag. Take some thin silicone oil for this O-ring right
Just
here.
going to do it again. Again, this is like the worst way to do it.
I think that's maybe a little bit too much. Take some off again. Yeah, that's fine. Push the valve
That is not going to get to where it needs to go, doing it like
a couple
that.
times so everything gets right in there.
Because you've got like a plunger, so you've got a button here, and it comes up to the end, and you've got like it looks like the valve in an engine, like an inlet and an exhaust valve. So it's got like a cone shape on it with like an O-ring. So you're trying to transfer oil from here through the plunger, through the spring, through the very small opening of these parts to come through, and get down, obviously, the shaft of the valve onto the conical part of the valve where the O-ring is. Like, if you had to do it this backwards way, the best way to get it in there would be through the top, but you don't want to do that.
So everything gets right in there.
I bet he takes a valve out.
Same thing with the thin silicone oil
Oh god.
into the gas route. Spread it evenly.
Like, again, if you wanna maintain this seal against your nozzle, you can put a tiny bit of like thin grease around here, but use stuff that's not silicone based.
Press the button. If you want to get to the inner O-ring, we just remove the outlet valve.
So he's
with
just
the
done all
valve
that. He's just spread all that silicone oil everywhere, and then he's taking the valve out. Again, for the bad analogies, it'd be like saying, when you've had a poo, go and drag your ass along the carpet, and then go back into the bathroom and use the toilet paper. It's just backwards.
Right here, you can see that.
So he's tried to get oil to go from the back here through this whole assembly to get to this O-ring. There's nothing. It's just the weirdest and most rubbish way to do it. You take the valve out like this, clean it of any debris, blow it out if you've got a compressor or anything like that, or, you know, if there's no dirt in there, leave it as it is. Make sure there's nothing in there that'll obstruct the valve, and then just, you want to lubricate 1, 2, 3 O-rings.
That we have a couple of O-rings. This O-ring, the smaller one that you can see from the outside when it's assembled, you need thin silicone oil.
Again, think about it. Gas can't leak through that button unless the valve is being pressed. So the gas is going to follow the path of least resistance. So you fire the gun, it hits the valve, the gas comes through this conical shaped valve here, and it comes through the output into your pistol. You'll always get a tiny bit of gas come through the back of the valves, but it's so negligible. Like again, the only way to really maintain that O-ring would be to take the valve apart. It just, in all my years of airsofting, I've just never had to do
right
it.
here, you need the thick silicone oil. So take this one here.
He's using thick and thin like they're different things. Yeah, that you've got a viscosity difference, but they're just going to spread as far as each other.
A little bit, like so.
I'm quite surprised he's not using like a silicone spray and just spraying it on everything.
Here's your finger to spread it evenly.
I mean, I've never done one of these React videos before. You guys have to let me know if you like it or not. But I guarantee that this is going to get like struck on the channel. They're not going to like this.
All right, and you can go right back in.
I'm not sure what the terms of doing React videos on YouTube are. Oh, he's just slipped off the valve. There's a nice chunk out the metal there.
All right, so this one can be tightened down a little.
We've all done it.
A little bit stronger. If you find that your magazine is leaking after maintenance, just use your valve key and tighten the valves down a little bit more. That's it, but be really careful with the...
Okay, what about if your magazine's leaking from the bottom seal here, not the valve?
Valve, don't break it. Another thing you should be doing with your magazines is making sure that they're clean on the outside. During games or in your holsters, there can always be a little bit of debris, dust, whatever.
We don't have to worry about that now because it's stuck to everywhere that you just applied silicone oil to.
And you want to make sure it's...
I keep looking over here because that's where the software is, but I need to be looking over here.
It's not on your magazine anymore. Otherwise, when you put your magazine in and take it out all the time, you get a lot of scratches. So it's as easy as taking some rubbing alcohol, putting it on a paper towel.
I've never had to do this.
And then just cleaning it, rubbing off.
You're more than
all
likely
the
just going to
dirt
pull
doesn't belong
pull
there.
the paint off the magazine. Yeah, look how black it is.
Same thing with the CO2 mag.
You could just use a clean microfiber cloth. Excuse me. You could just use a clean microfiber cloth and just, you know, again, paintbrushes, disposable paintbrushes are really good at getting dust and stuff off things.
We have less surface here, but this can also get scratched up and you don't want all that stuff in there. Once you're done,
that dirt as well could also come from your magwell. Is he going to tell you how to get it out your
maintaining
magwell?
your magazines, always make sure that there are no cracks or damages around, especially around the feeding lips.
Well, he's just slammed the follower off the feed lips. But yeah, I mean, I could see why a lot of you wanted to get my reaction to this, but a lot of people are going to watch this video and take it as that is what you need to do and just potentially damage things even further.
So these,
and all that silicone oil he's put in those mags and the valves and stuff is going to fly through your nozzle onto your hot rubber, and then you'll be like, why is my hot rubber not working?
look good. All right, so this is how you maintain your magazines.
One thing I will say, honestly, because I'm not out to get them at all, it was very, very well shot. Whoever did the studio setup or the camera setup or anything like that, the multiple perspectives, how clear this looks, I mean, they've done very well there.
Thank you very much. See you in the next one.
They've done very well, spent a lot of money to make a really good video on giving you the wrong information. And that's it. I understand why a lot of you wanted me to look at this. We need to start moving away from silicon-based lubricants. They're not good for airsoft use. I've been saying this for a while now. And so many of these products are forced onto people. And I'm not... Disregard, obviously, what I do on my website, because it's not... That's not what I'm trying to push at the moment. But a lot of these companies now, they're releasing silicone oil, which if you wanted to buy silicone oil, you can buy it so cheap. Why you'd want to buy it for this, I wouldn't know, but you got all these companies adding, you know, dyes and colorants into them to signify which one's better and which one should be used for this and that and the other. Honestly, bare minimum you should be using like stuff that isn't silicone based, like Superlube and what else. I imagine they're probably going to have a problem. They're probably going to have a problem with this video. So I'm just dumbfounded a little bit. If you want to see me react to more stuff, let me know. This is a new thing. I'm only doing it by request. We'll see how it goes. You guys might not like it. I've got some very cool stuff coming up on the channel. We're going to do another custom AAPO1 build. Spent a fortune with the guys over at CTM. We're going to be doing like a FUKU FUKU build. I'm not going to say it the way I normally say it. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.